access to a educator site for Blackboard. And to find that, you've got two choices. It's either under using iLearn, or you can also find iLearn tutorial for educators. So when I'm not around and you need some help, you can go there first, and there are tutorials and tips on how to use iLearn. I have our workshop information listed here under Join a Workshop. And I'll just be taking you through some the basics of our university template, which has just been introduced along with the copy tool that we've implemented. I'm just going to take you through the designs of that template and why we are encouraging people to use it, what sort of administrative duties we've taken care of for you, any tips and tricks that we can sort of make your iLearn site more user-friendly. I've got a project site which I was approached last Tuesday, to be exact. They had called me from Arch, and they had said, oh look, we've never used iLearn before for projects. Why would we want to use iLearn for it? You know, I've got this massive document here, all the students have it. Why use iLearn? So I decided to use that as my example for today. I've only had a maximum of 8 hours to play with it. It's still not finished, it's a work in progress. I'll actually do some work on it in front of you just to demonstrate what can be done. And then we're just going to hopefully for about 20 minutes, half an hour, just do a couple of tasks in iLearn using your evaluation sites and just demonstrating some of the design techniques that we've implemented in the university template. So I'm just going to bring up the demo version of it and just take you through the university template. So this university template was designed with teaching and learning to try and assist lecturers with their iLearn sites, to try and bring out a minimum basic information from every site that students could get used to and familiar with, and sort of encourage to increase the level of what we're producing. So at the moment, the standard template that you can copy across using the subject copy wizard has announcements, an introduction, and I know teaching and learning may be approaching you at some stage for a video about your course, and this is probably the best place to put your video when it does happen, and hopefully you show in this afternoon how to add or embed a video.
Yeah, I'll do a little bit of advertising a little bit later on, but the law faculty in particular have been very proactive with approaching OLT and organising for subject introduction videos to be created for a range of their subjects. And there's several different reasons why you would do that. Give students a bit of a feeling for what the subject's going to be about. Typically students that might miss the first week and be really lost, it kind of gets them back on track. It's a bit more personalised, which is what Bond's very much about, is that face-to-face experience and the unique personalisation of the institution. So having an introduction video can be very personalised for many students, depending how you put it together. And really just, it's a little bit more engaging than just handing them a subject outline and saying, I'll go read this and I'll see you in the first week. So for a range of reasons, we've been encouraging academics to consider creating an introduction video, and I'll show you the link later on to our OLT YouTube website, where you can actually go and have a look at some of the videos that other academics have already done. It might give you a few ideas whether you would actually want to do it or how you might go about doing it yourself. And again, later this afternoon, you're welcome to come and speak to Ron. We'll be set up over in the Princeton room, and you'll have an opportunity to actually see what it's like to see yourself on camera and what that might entail.
Okay, so in the introduction site, you've got all whenever you copy across a template, we have a little preview. None of this is available for the students to see, but it's more of a guide for you to be able to have an idea of what should be there. If you want to hide this from yourself but not delete it, there is a neat little trick, and there's a little down arrow. That down arrow will hide that information from you, but it won't delete it altogether. If you don't want that information at all, you can choose to use the drop down and delete it altogether. However, if you want to refer back to it, once you've deleted it, you can't do that. So if you want to open it back up, it's always there for you. Once you start adding content in there, you can start moving it further down. And you can do that by either using the double arrows at the side, or using the drag and drop option on the left hand side. So just because that notice is there doesn't mean it will get in your way. It's just for you to use as a reference and a guide. So under contacts and support, we've got a template here. We hope everyone will use it. It's a matter of replacing the details, deciding whether or not you have a class representative in your class. If you have more than one teaching team, we are encouraging you to put it into a folder and then adding your team to that folder, but to keep the main coordinator out the front. We have also covered some of the more administrative items for you by creating a university contacts for you. If the students click on that, they have access to general university information. And we've also created a folder for each specific faculty. So what you can do is you can delete the faculties that aren't required and just make the one that is required visible to the students.
So I'll probably just clarify here. This template will only come up when you roll over your subject for the new semester. You really need to start from scratch to be able to use the template which has got all this. If you're importing in a previous subject that you've already designed, which is what most people do, they just roll over the content from a previous semester, it won't include this format. So we're encouraging you, particularly you might have a subject which is it's been maybe there, you've been using it for many years, it's got cluttered, it might have content which is irrelevant now, and it's probably a good idea to start fresh. If you start fresh with this template option, you'll basically have a subject which has got a nice shell, there's a lot of content already in there for you that you can use, and it might help you think about how you can organise your subject a little bit better. Particularly if you're like me, when you first started using iLearn, you're really just playing with it, you weren't sure where to put anything, and then you come back at a later time and you realise, gee, I really wish I could start again. So the idea behind this template is giving you an option to be able to start again. We're not saying you have to start again, but this could be one way that you approach your subject, and if everyone approaches their subject and redesigns them, or we've got some consistency with the navigation on the left, which is what ITS has spent an awful lot of time, and ILT, we're working through that and thinking about how that could be organised. It'll make it a better experience for students because they'll know where to go, they'll know what to expect inside a subject, and there'll be a bit of consistency there. So that's really what we're hoping to achieve by this new template design.
In saying that, you're not forced into this, and for the demo, I'm actually going to show you a site that this doesn't suit because it's a project site. So I've had to rearrange it, but I've kept the principles. So for the weekly content, for a good site design, you shouldn't have the students shouldn't have to click on more than 3 links to get to the content that they need. And when we mean 3 clicks, so the weekly content is 1, If we put our content into folders for organisation, this is 2. And then the document itself should be the 3rd click. If you have more folders than this, it gets difficult for students to navigate and they get frustrated. So we're just trying to keep to the 3-click rule. 1, 2, and then open the document as the 3rd. Sometimes you need other methods to group documents within folders, and we can show you, I'm going to show you in our little demo later on how to group documents so you have a folder feel or a grouping feel of it. This is one type. You can do module pages, which is like a learning sequence, and we've also got things like tables that we can put content in, and I'm going to show you with our demo site. So again, we want to put any library or additional resources in the same spot for students to use, and hopefully if I get time I want to show you how to add a library link. I have done that for our project site, which I'm going to demonstrate, and it's really useful for the students to be able to see, okay, this book's in the library, I actually have to book through the reserve to get this other book. So they know to plan ahead to get what they need. We've created a similar to the weekly content, the assignment folder, and we're trying to keep everything organised. So a student can come in here and see straight away what their assessment criteria are. So assessment 1, they've got the title, they'll have the weighting, when it's due, and what the learning outcomes are. And once they go into the folder, they'll have access to all the information for that subject, for that assessment item. The My Grades tool, well, that's standard for students to access their grades. So if you're using the Grade Centre, they'll need to have a link to the My Grades tools to be able to view their information. And the last 2 items are just administration links to help students. So one's a link to the academic regulations, and that opens and pops up in a new window. And the same with the iLearn help. That's just for students who need assistance with maybe submitting a turn-in assignment, or they're about to take an online test and they need more information. They can go to the iLearn help link and they can view the information that's there for them. So I want to just give a quick demo of what I've been working on with the Arch project. This is not finished. It's certainly, it needs more work. I've only had 8 hours on this, or probably less than that, because I don't actually work 8 hours a day, but I've had about 8 hours in between other things that I've had to do. I just want to point out a couple of things. I want to make my content the hero. I don't actually want to make backgrounds flashy and exciting, because it takes away from the information. You want your information to be the focal point. So I've just tried to sort of make it not that interesting. We've got an introduction here. It's a project site, so they're yet to actually build a video, and when they first came to me, they only had this document here. They just added the attachment and that was it. Sent an email, an announcement off to students saying that this file was now available. Students like myself need sometimes a bit of visual trigger to remind themselves of content. So that's why I've attached the first page here, just to show them that when they open up this document, that's what it's going to look like. So it's just a little bit of a visual trigger. They were also talking to me and they said, oh look, iLearn's very boring, you can't do anything to it. So I've just tried to demonstrate that it doesn't have to be boring if you put a little bit of effort into it. So as you can see, I'm just going to page down. I'm trying to keep things as visually clean as possible. Clarify that everything is there for them. So this is just what they had in their document.
So they gave you a Word document?
They gave me a PDF.
Yep.
and I've just cut images from it and pasted text from it. And then I've gone, well, that's no different from just having a PDF. So what can I do to make it worth the effort of putting, adding this? So here's the subject schedule. So that's not too exciting. It's just text on a page. There's not much you can do. So then I started off with resources. And they had pages and pages of, or a massive list of books. And then I thought, well, what do I want from that as a student? List of books, great, have to go research it, fine. Okay, what would be really helpful for the students? So I started to go through all the books, gave a visual representation of what the cover would look like. So when they're actually trying to find the book in the library, they know what they're looking for. And then I sort of thought, well, some of these books aren't even in our library. Okay, so what are they going to have to do? Well, I know we can get them from our interlibrary loan. So all they have to do is go to the library, request the book, and they'll have it. But some books aren't at the library. So what I've done is I've gone to the library site, and I'll just open that up now. That's all the details for them. So they can go, they can log in, they can book it if it's out. So at the moment that book's out, so they can automatically see that it's not available for them. Maybe they could reserve it for later on. If you go to the library site and look for a book, under Actions, you'll be able to find this permalink. It's a permanent link to that page, to that book. So if you want to add a link for the students, you can go down to here, and it will give you this lovely link here, which will be a direct link, and you'll be able to share that with your students. So I thought, well, that's interaction. So, okay, so I just don't have plain text on my site. My students can now research their textbooks. What else can they do? So I've gone through these books, and then they had a whole heap of links. So I've just added the links and a visual representation of the page that they should come across. So now they can go to the websites that the lecturer has recommended.
So I mean, obviously, like, this is early stages, so if you were going to put something like this in your subject, you might include some more information, like a description about why would the students need to go to that site, or where does it fit inside their subject, and you might even consider having like a weekly series of links that they would need to access in a particular week. Okay, this week, this is going to expand upon what we covered in the lecture. If you go and look at you read this reading, it expands upon topic A or whatever it might be. So you can actually provide a little bit more context. At the moment, this is just a list, but it could be a little bit more than that. It depends on how much effort you want to put into it and how many links you want to provide for students inside your subject.
So this is just me taking information from a PDF. I have no idea about the subject, and I'm just slowly trying to piece it together, pretending that I'm a student in the subject. So then I started working on the assessment page, because students really like to know what they're expected to produce, when they're expected to produce it. So this has actually changed 3 or 4 times since it's originally started with it. So the students can now have an overview of the 4 pieces of assessment in here. once they click onto the folder link, you can start to see that very clearly the information, what they're expected to do. I was glad I did this because there were conflicting information in the document that the lecturer had given them. So I was able to sort it out and give them the right information in the end.
This is probably one of the way that this page has been laid out, you can see it's visually appealing, so you can kind of get a feeling what it's about. The topic's clear, what's involved. Often we'll have academics come to us and they get really frustrated. Oh, student doesn't know what to do. We've given them the assessment task, but the information's not easily readable. They'll give them a massive page full of text, and somewhere in that they have to leaf through and find out what the details are. Some students are naturally lazy and won't actually read all the text. They'll just try and guess what the assignment is about. So being able to layer it in this way, it's more visually appealing for a start. They're more likely to read it. And the information that's most salient is there right at the top. They can't miss the due date. They can't miss what it's about. They can't miss what the weighting is. So a lot of those common questions that students will ask about assessment, it's very easy for them to find that because there's been some thought into how it's going to be laid out on the page. So obviously it takes a little bit of planning, a little bit of time to organise something like this, but it shouldn't take you a massive amount of time. And I think the rewards, the lack, you reduce the conversations with students. I don't know what I'm doing this week, or where's the assessment task, because it's clearly laid out. It's clear for them to read. I think you'll gain a bit of time by putting that investment of energy in.
So obviously now the students can click on it and they can see a criteria sheet. Because I thought, well, you've got this information for the students, but how's the lecturer going to mark it? So when I was sitting down with the lecturer, I said, well, what's all the information that you require to manage your site, to manage your students? And he said to me, well, we have these Excel spreadsheets to do our marking. So instead of these big long Excel spreadsheets, I've converted it into a criteria sheet for them. So they're still getting the same amount of detail, but in iLearn. We've got the due date here. We did actually have to slightly modify it because he only added the assignment link on the day that it was required, so he gave them an extra hour. But otherwise, all the information's there for the students. They can't miss it.
Yeah, probably worth mentioning at the moment. So we're calling them criteria sheets. Unfortunately, in some elements of iLearn, it still refers to them as rubrics, which is the American term. So the term criteria sheets is a very Australian term to do with assessment marking. They're interchangeably the same idea though. So if you do see the word rubrics in iLearn, that's really what it's referring to as a criteria sheet.
Yeah, so he just had this Excel spreadsheet. He wanted me to replicate it. That's what we've done. He can now, there is an app that staff can use to grade assessment items, and it makes it very easy for the grading aspect. So basically he can come along with his iPad, use his fingers to touch the ones that he wants and hit submit, and then it grades it for him. He can actually add comments to that as well. So if there is a particular bad point that he needs to address, he can click on that, add some text and hit submit, and the student actually gets feedback from that. So this is a possibility. We have to create a criteria sheet for every assignment that he has. I haven't got there yet. Again, I've only had limited hours to work on this, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what is possible. His other requirement to manage the subject was they needed to keep track of who was attending. And we've got a special setup for the attendance. So he wants to be able to check who's absent, who has participated, who's got a medical certificate, and who was late, yes. I couldn't remember, what was that for? So we've just set up that, and we've set up a smart view. So they can do that. We've only got up to week 4 so far, but we'll be working on that with him over the next week or 2. So he's got a attendance, he's got his detailed assessment in there. Why have it all in iLearn? Well, eventually we're going to actually connect iLearn to eStudent, which will be great. That's one of our projects we're hoping to achieve next year. But on top of that, if you're absent and you're away, you've gone on holiday, and there is a question someone needs to ask regarding a student, they can go onto iLearn. All the details are there. You can add comments. You can. There's so much you can use within the Grade Centre to, provide us with the information that you would normally maybe keep in an Excel spreadsheet on your computer, on your H drive, which we can't access. So have a think about it. There's another a tip you may wish to know. Sometimes you only get 10 here and you've got like 25 students. If you hit the edit row down the bottom, you can actually change that up to 50. So then you can see 50 on a page. Maximum is 50. If you have more, you will have to scroll. But a lot of people complain to me, I can only see the first 10 and I have to use the scroll bar. How do I change that? So that's just another tip you might wish to use.
Question. In our iLearn sites now,
Yeah.
are we able to add a sheet like that? Because I do that manually on Excel. Oh, I must.
Yeah, yes. If you want to make a booking with us, we can take you through it and show you how to do that.
Yeah, I think if you've got an existing Excel spreadsheet, you can import that, from what I understand, straight in as well. So you don't have to start from scratch. You can use what you've got already.
So if we don't have much time, unfortunately, I haven't been able to go through everything here. But I would like to show you how to create an item with a table. So you can clearly lay out your information that you might want to give to the students. So I'm just going to go to our demo site, and in the weekly content area, I'm just going to add an item and show you how to change the style of a table. So I'm just going to build an item here. So if you can't see all these two here, you just need to use the little double arrow on the side, and that will expand your WYSIWYG, which is the little content editor. And then you'll be able to see that you can add a table here. So for like the assignments on the outside of the folder, and for the even done for the books, library books, I've added a table. So I'm just going to add a table. It's going to prompt me what I want. So for now, I'm just going to say I just want the 2 by 2, nothing else fancy. So I'm just going to insert that, and it's given me this horrible, annoying tiny thing which you can't really see. So there's 2 ways of adding style. I'm going to take you through the most difficult process first. I actually think it's the easiest, but so I'm going to go into HTML mode. And this is my table here. And I'm going to change the word border to class and 0 to table. We will also be adding, we have pages and pages of cheat code like this, which Lauren and I are working on at the moment, and we will be releasing it very shortly. So all this information will be on there, how to do it step by step. Unfortunately, we didn't have time because of the busy start of semester to produce it for today, but we are bringing it out. So this has automatically created a table with that style. The other way I could have produced this was when I created the table to change the class up here. The reason why I don't like to use this method is because it doesn't let you type in table, and you have to search through about a couple of hundred styles to find it.
So you can't just type in table.
You can't just type in table, so you actually have to search for it. And this is why I think it's the hardest
Oh, and
way.
they're not alphabetical, are they?
No.
That would be too easy.
And it's not in alphabetical order either. No.
Lauren and I are actually working on trying to reduce the list. So only really what's necessary is on there.
We'll just change the order.
Or just to type in table. So we have put in the request to Blackboard to see if they will allow us to type it in. They haven't got back to us so far. So just to let you know that this is the other way of doing it. But for me, I don't like it because it takes forever and you have to find where table is and...
Okay, so HTML is the code that tells the page how to display. And I suppose it's over 10 years ago now. Someone came up with the idea, well, HTML is great, but we can't make web pages look very, very exciting with that. So if you think back in the 90s, web pages look very drab and plain and boring and weren't very exciting. So someone came up with the idea of CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets, which is basically a way of saying, okay, you want to have a heading on the page, you want to have a table underneath it. What color do you want it to be? How much spacing do you want? Do you want a particular font? So the CSS actually does the design of it. So what ITS have done is they've created a series of styles, if you like, of what a table should look like. So when Janaya has put in there that she wants to create a table as the class, it's telling the CSS, oh, go find the list of instructions for how a table should look, and it's bringing it back and it's saying, well, this is what a table should look like. So if you don't provide that information, it creates what's called a plain HTML table, which is very boring, doesn't look very exciting. Will look like a website did back in the 1990s. So CSS enables websites to look a lot more interesting. And if you've seen a modern looking website, like a HTML5 looking website, they all use CSS behind the scenes to make it look nice and beautiful. So the person who's actually writing the content on the web page, they don't even have to worry about that. It just applies it. And that's the same here. You don't have to worry about, well, how should a table look? You just have to load that particular class. So, and this is what Janaya was saying before. She'll give you a list when that's completed, which is hopefully soon, which will say you type this in and it will just make it look lovely and beautiful for you. So it's a way of making your websites look a lot more interesting, a lot more professional without necessarily needing to know a huge amount of coding or design skills or anything like that. It does a lot of that for you.
Yeah, we are hoping just the drop-down menu will just have the ones that are necessary for you. We've just got to work out how we can hide the other ones. But we will be doing, we've got a massive long list for images, call-outs, lots of little different designs that you guys can use, and we're just hoping that all you'll have to do is apply the class to it. Unfortunately, it wasn't for this week, but it does create a more professional looking website. It's very clear for the students where they can find the information. So would you like me to go through how to do that again? So you can try it for yourselves?
Okay, so for those advanced users that are finding this reasonably straightforward, there's another type of class called table stripes. Okay, this is the idea of this is make things a little bit more readable. So you can see that there's a slight colour variation between them. So instead of just choosing table as the class, you can choose table -stripes as the class. So if you type that instead, it's going to go and grab the design rules, the CSS, the formatting style, for a stripe table. So you don't have to go and choose all the colours and design all the borders, you just have to put that in at the top and it will automatically do that for you. The concept that we're covering today, obviously it's still in embryo at the moment. There's still a lot of things which are changing. The template's still really new. The rules which people can add to change the format of their site, that's something that's still being developed. All of this is accessible within iLearn. All you need to do is click on the iLearn Educator Support section of the site. Okay, the iLearn tutorials for educators. So this, hopefully, we're hoping, for Christmas maybe. Okay, so obviously at the moment we've got this workshop here, which is what we're covering today. So you'll be able to go in there and access all the content we've talked about, all the information about how do you change the formatting of a table, plus other things that we're just going to run out of time to cover today. I mean, iLearn's one of those things, once you start talking about it, you start realising there's more things to talk about. So we encourage you to go and have a bit of a play when you've got some time, maybe a bit of patience. And please ask us if there's anything that's not clear, and we'll provide more information and help you out with that. But this is ultimately hoping to become a resource which everyone will find useful, and then people can share these ideas with their colleagues, and everyone can have the opportunity to hopefully improve their iLearn site and improve the student experience ultimately.
Yeah, I'd just like to say if you do have a layout that you would like that I know is available in Word, but you can't get it quite right in iLearn, email us, let us know, we can create a template for you and put it in your iLearn site. You can then copy that template and reuse it as many times as you would like. So if you're not great with code and you can't do the more advanced techniques, we are here to help you. So if you want to email us at ilearn@bond.edu.au, or if you'd like to book an appointment just to discuss maybe the visual aspect and modifying your site to adjust to the new template, you can do that. We have on our iLearn cert many places that you can make an appointment with us. So just click on the link. It comes up with all our free times. Just make an appointment. Lauren or I will come and see you. Just wait for the confirmation email to make sure that we are able to make it. And we can help you out. We are very busy in weeks 1, 2 and 3 usually, and O week as well. And we get very busy towards the end of semester because people are trying to prepare for the next semester, and they're also trying to get their grade centres down pat, and getting their grades fixed up. So if you could book an appointment, that would be great. Otherwise, send us an email and we'll try and help you as best as possible.